Hello, welcome to episode 3 of I'm Not a Math Person. Today we are going to look in the world of subtraction, or one number minus another number, or finding the difference of two numbers, or deducting one number from another number. They all mean the same thing for the most part. So what we are going to do is we are going to work with natural numbers, and we are going to use the integer 0. We're not going to look at the negative numbers in all integers just yet. We will in the next episode, but not right now. So now I want to focus on the idea of finding the difference of two numbers, deducting one number from another number, one number minus another number. And I want to make sense of it. I want to see what's involved in it. I want to look at what we did previously with composing and decomposing numbers so we can make sense of subtracting one number from another number. And that'll make sense once we get into it. But for now, we're going to go into a brief discussion of the previous episode, and then we will move on to subtraction. Okay, so now what I want to do is just a quick review of what we went over last time, which is we used natural numbers and we used 0 for all integers, and some of the vocabulary we used was addition, the sum of numbers, we composed numbers, and we decomposed numbers. An example of compose, decompose, I'll make it simple with a 4, and we can decompose 4 with 2 and 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. The sum of 2 and 2 is 4. 4 decomposed is 2 and 2. 2 and 2 composed is 4. Or we could write it as 3 and 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. The sum of 3 and 1 is 4. 4 decomposed is 3 and 1. 3 and 1 composed is 4. All right, that's all I really want to review for the previous episode. Like any concept, there is no substitute for practice. If you want to get better and you want to perfect it or become more knowledgeable on the subject of mathematics, is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Write down just a line of numbers and try to find the sum of these numbers. Compose these numbers, decompose these numbers, and just keep practicing. So now what I want to do is go ahead and go into the new subject of subtraction. With subtraction, we will still use all natural numbers. We will use 0 from all integers. And if we remember what all integers is, it's all your negative numbers to 0, and then all your positive numbers, which are also your natural numbers. And I still want to use the idea of a room with chairs. And again, since I'm a terrible artist, what we will do is take this X and define it as chair. And again, loosely using this symbol. The X defines chair, meaning we are calling this X a chair. So now we have this box that represents a room, which is a terrible oblong weird room. But in this room, we already do have chairs in here. And there's too many chairs. We want to get rid of some of these chairs because there's so many chairs in this room, people can hardly walk around. So how do we get rid of these chairs? Well, we could do it a couple of ways. The long way to do this to write this out is we have one chair, then we have another chair, then we have another chair. Let's see, this 3. Then we have another chair, another chair, another chair, and another chair. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 chairs. So an easier way, a shorter way to write this is we can use the symbol that represents 7. The symbol that represents 7 is this number there. Now, how many chairs do we want to get rid of? Let's say we want to get rid of 3 chairs. Instead of writing 1, 2, 3 chairs, we'll use the symbol for 3. 3 chairs. And now we want to get rid of 3 from 7. So 7 minus 3. A long way of thinking about this is we see all these individual chairs here. 3. We want to get rid of 3, so then we can just X that out, or cross this out, slash it out. That leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4 chairs. 4 chairs. This is the long way of doing it, but this is the easiest way to see it. This way is the faster way, shorter way. So if we can imagine this in our minds, if we can see this in our mind, we can picture this by getting rid of this. Another way of looking at this and you'll get the same answer. Now, breaking it down, moving away from X defined as chairs and just looking at the numbers. When you start reaching higher numbers, above 10, becomes more complicated, but it's still the basic same ideas. So one of the things I reviewed was composing and decomposing, and here's why I reviewed that. It's because let's look at the number 8, and we want to deduct 3. So 8 minus 3, or 3 deducted from 8, or the difference of 8 and 3 is some number here. So if you're beginning to look at numbers and this doesn't come intuitively for you, let's decompose this number, 8. Well, what plus what number makes 8? Let's say there's a couple of ways you can do it. One way is 8 plus 3. Now we have this 3 that we want to deduct from this number, from 8. Now if we deduct these two numbers, that leaves us with 5 plus 0, and your answer is 5. So another way we can show this, where it can be slightly more complicated, is if you have something like 10 minus 7. Now this is going to become a little bit more tricky. So let's look what makes up 10. What plus what will equal 10? Better yet, we know 10 is larger than 7. So what number plus 7 will equal 10? 7 plus 3 minus 7. And you can see here, 7 and 7 will cancel each other out. That leaves us with 3 and 0. And your answer is 3. Now that we have an idea of what we're talking about, when we try to make sense of what we're doing when we're deducting one number from a number, when we are subtracting one number from another number, when we are finding the difference of two numbers. Let's go ahead and break it down specifically with 7 minus 4. Or better yet, let's say 7 chairs minus 4 chairs. Now, for me, when I was in my early stages of mathematics, odd numbers always tripped me up. I never really understood them. They always, because they're odd, they're not even, they were harder for me to grasp. So one of the things I did where I had to think was make sense of these numbers by decomposing one of them. So if I look at the number 7, I know that 7 is more than 4. So then that means there must be a 4 inside this 7. And then that told me that there's two numbers, when we compose them together, you will equal 7. Since 4 is in 7, then I have a 4 composed with another number, and those two numbers will equal 7. So then I just added those numbers together, or I counted until I got 7. And if we do that with this one, with 7, we know that 3 chairs plus 4 chairs will equal 7. Now this was easier for me because now, since this is decomposed, this 7 is decomposed, and we bring this 4 down, 4 chairs, I know that one number minus another number, or the same number, will equal 0. So now this made more sense to me, because 4 minus 4, 4 deducted from 4, the difference of 4 and 4 is 0. And then that just left me with 3 chairs, which is your answer, 3 chairs. Again, this is the long way of thinking about it, but this is how I made sense of it. This is how I was able to look at numbers like 7 minus 4 equals 3. Okay, so some of the vocabulary we used for this episode was subtract. We used the difference of two numbers. We deducted one number from another, and we used minus. The symbols we used were the minus symbol. Again, we used equal, and we loosely use this symbol as define. We worked with all natural numbers from 1, 2, 3, and we'll say all the way to infinity. We worked with the integer 0, only using 0. And like I said, in our next episode, we will go into all integers, meaning we will use negative numbers, and we'll see how we can take something like 4 minus 7 and get an answer for that. At the moment, we can't do that, but next episode we will, and that'll open up a whole new world of mathematics for us. But as always, I would say practice, 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 practice. There's no substitute for practice. Take numbers down, take 2 numbers, take 3 numbers, even go with higher numbers like 20, 30, 100, 452, and deduct 2 from that. Deduct 5 from that. Deduct 100 from that number. And take your time. make sense of it. Compose numbers, decompose numbers to make sense of what you're doing. So if you practice enough, then these problems will become more intuitive to you, to where you won't have to decompose any numbers. You'll just know the answer. But the only way to do that is to practice. Okay, so that's the end of episode 3 of I'm Not a Math Person. I hope by breaking subtraction down the way I did, I hope it made sense for you. I hope it showed what actually is involved with subtracting one number from another number, or finding the difference of two numbers. I hope by showing how we decompose the larger number from the small number, like 8 minus 3, let's decompose 8, 5 plus 3 minus 3 equals 5. I hope by showing you that way it made sense. In the long run, you don't want to do that because it takes time, but if you practice at it right now, looking at subtraction this way, I think in the long run it'll become intuitive for you, to where you won't need to find the you won't need to decompose a number to find the answer. It'll all just begin to make sense for you. So now all that's left is for you to practice. Just practice, practice, practice. There's absolutely no substitute for practice. Work with smaller numbers and then deduct those numbers from each other. Find the difference of these numbers. Then slowly work your way up to larger numbers like 23, 89, 5,742. Just keep working your way up. Go at a slow pace so you can make sense of it. Decompose numbers if you have to, but just keep working at it and keep practicing. And if there was something in the video that you didn't quite understand, leave a message or message me, and I can do a follow-up video to help explain in maybe a different way, so it could break more and make more sense to you. Maybe it needs to be breaking down more for you, or maybe it just needs to be explained in a different way completely. But either way, let me know. I'm here to help. And until then, the next episode, what we will work on are all integers, which are negative numbers, including our positive numbers, which are natural numbers. We will add negative numbers with a positive number. We will subtract negative numbers from positive numbers, or vice versa. And we will play with them just to see what's going on and what's involved with working with these types of numbers. So until then, I hope this episode helped alleviate some of that math anxiety by bringing more understanding to what's involved. And I hope that you did understand, and by understanding, it did help you feel like maybe in fact you are a math person.